So this brings us to the end of topic 1. What have we said so far? The 1 is just giving us an overview of what we mean by a business model. And we said that business model simply refers to a logic. And I gave you certain themes, logic, value, just to reinforce, to let you know what we mean by a business model. Business model. Then I also disassociated business from a model. So I also introduced you to what are we referring to if we see a business. And I ran you through a number of things that we're not only referring to an organization that exists, but a number of things can be regarded as a business. We then came to look at the benefit of having a model, and I gave you certain concept, which though looks like a business model, but it's not. And in the end, I have given you certain kind of examples. So this is just to let you know what are we referring to, business model, what is the business model, what is not, and all that. So this is just a conceptual background for you to understand. Now, the topic number 2 is crucial. We are then going into how do I create. Don't forget, I gave you examples, and I said 2 businesses. I said those in the airline. I gave example about travel and tour, a number of examples and all that for you to understand what we are referring to. But then the question then is that how do I create a business model? How? Always the how, that is where the problem comes in. That is why when I get to this place, I try to take my time and I explain. I know that model is a logic. It creates value. Yes, it sounds so nice. I know the characteristics, examples, stakeholder, blah, blah, and all that. But how do I create it? How do I appear in front of a banker and say, gentlemen, this and this are my model? So that is what we are going to do in our topic number 2, creating a business model. Right. So still on the how of creating a business model. It's important, the how. That is always where the difficulty is. So I'm giving you a framework, approach, you can call it approach, steps, what have you. And I've done in such a way that it poses questions. And the reason why I have done it, that is that it gives you the opportunity to appraise the question. It's very important. So each question, once you're not able to address the question very well, it means that you can move it to the next question. And so look, the first aspect of the model, the how, or creating a business model is that you need to address the first question. What do you want to sell and why? What do you want to sell and why? Don't forget, this is business. Businesses exist to make profit. Businesses exist to create profit. So what do you want to sell and why? That is the first dimension of creating a business model. So a product, a service is a clientele I like to target, I like to address. What do I want to sell to them and why? That is the first question. Look at this. Now, if you come here, look, so this is the framework proper. Now, in answering what I want to sell and why means that you need to address the issue of value proposition. This is so crucial. Why? You're not reinventing the wheel. So this is saying that if you can answer what you want to sell and the why, the idea is that why do you think that people are going to need what you intend to sell? Do you think it's needful at all? And if it is so, it means that from marketing point of view, you have what we call value proposition. Why am I running classes in the evening? The idea is that there is a market out there. A lot of people are going to flock in because perhaps for them, that timing is so nice to them. It favors them. So it is value. I'm creating value. Value proposition. So what do you want to sell and why? Once you can answer the why, it means you have value proposition. And anytime you want to do business, you want to target a clientele, you want to go to new market, you want to come up with a product or a service, and you cannot answer that value proposition, it means there is a problem. What do you want to sell and why? The answer is that you must have what we call a value proposition. And look, to make life easy for you, there's a number of questions that you need to answer also. For example, even though I've identified my value proposition, I will say, now, what do you want to offer and how? All right? How? So I must also understand that one. What type of value or benefit is associated with my offering? How am I going to generate the value? It's very crucial. Very, very crucial. To what extent does it differ from anything else on the market? And if I'm able to create it, can I sustain it? Now look, each of the questions at the end of the day, I've said where, who, how. What do those things mean? What I'm trying to say is that, for example, right now, if I want to create a business model and I'm addressing the first question of what do I want to sell, where? Now the answer is that perhaps, do I want to pitch my business in the banking industry? Do I want to go into the education? Do I want to go into the insurance? Do I want to go into the hospitality? So you must always address where. Is it in the airline industry? Now, if I'm able to address that, I want to go to the airline. The other has to do with who will design them, who will create it. So if I am the one going to create the model, I need to have the skill. So where, who, and how. How means that sometimes I need to do something we call marketing research. I need to do some research to identify whether indeed the need exists out there. So those where, who, how that I've introduced, you need to take it so serious. So what do I want to say and why? Answers the question, what is your value proposition? What is your value proposition? Now look, I want to do XYZ. It's so wonderful. Perhaps in my area, yeah, that people have problem with water. So maybe I want to distribute sachet water, what have you. So something suggests that yes, it looks as if the need exists. So I then need to come to if I'm okay with number one. Number two is saying customers and clientele. Look, do the customers exist? Here we're talking about customers that can actually help you to recoup your capital outlay. Because in the business, you're going to introduce a lot of fixed costs, what have you. You're going to go and hire office complex. Some of them is going to take you about 10 years before you can recoup. You need to make sure that you can generate enough returns to address all this. So the question is, do the customers exist? Do they have, sometimes, yes, they are out there. But you see, if you go and put the houses that we have here in Ghana, if you go to Trasaco, in some suburb of Ghana here in Accra, nobody will address it. Why? They do not have the purchasing power. So it's one thing to say, oh, my customers do exist. It's another thing saying that they exist and they also have the purchasing power. Number three. Now, the item. Is it an item that everyone in the household consumes? Or perhaps if you take a typical house, maybe it's only the student that is needed. Or perhaps it's only the dad that is needed. You need, because all these things will tell you your sales level. You need to address that one. Yeah? What are the characteristics of the client? Maybe gender, age, profession, what have you. So in terms of addressing the clientele, you need to address all this. And again, where will you do that one? Perhaps in the neighborhood. Maybe you go to the ministry to look for the data. You need to know that one. Who will do it? Maybe either yourself or consultant. And how? Always, you need to. That's why in the topic one, I introduce you to the skills in using to create a business. Those things are very, very, very important. So the assumption is that we have addressed our question one. What do we want to sell? Oh, it's fantastic. It's wow. We're so happy because we're okay with that one. And we're posing the question, can we say yes strongly with regard to customers and clientele? And then perhaps we have checked through all these questions. Yes. So the assumption is that number one, value proposition, no problem. Number two, customers and clientele, no problem. We're moving on to number three. And we're saying, what type of relationship can we envisage between this business and the customers? Now here you need to be mindful. Why? There are certain technical products that you need to 24 hours set up call centers. Why? people are calling, please, there's a problem here, what have you. So depending on the service, depending on the product, you need to know that must I or am I going to stay in touch with my client and customers 24/7? Do I need to contract somebody to do call centers for me? You need to answer all these questions. Or it is something that when your customers leave you, oh, they themselves can manage. I don't need to call the company. I'm okay with it. Or it's a product that they are calling you 24/7 and you need to address that one. So customer relationship. What relationship do you envisage? Is it just one-off? So for example, in Ghana, those of you who don't live in Ghana here, we have a lot of internet service providers. And some of them, it is so on and off in such a way that you need to be calling them, man, I'm buying this one, credit, sometimes the modem is not working. So you know what? Those companies, because of the nature of that service, they've employed a lot of people that are doing 24/7 communication. And what are they doing? They're trying to capture the kind of relationship they have to have with their clientele. But perhaps if I go and I buy a car from Japan Motors in Accra here, maybe even I'm going to call them, it will be once in a blue moon. So you need to know the kind of and you need to address all these questions. So number 3, customer relationship. So again, we are assuming that 1, we are happy with our value proposition. Nobody is doing. If we come out, it will just hit. Number 2, for us, the customers are there. Number 3, we have understood the kind of relationship we are going to maintain with our client. Number 4, look, partners for support. Sometimes new businesses are risky. The reason being that they've never been in business. So if they approach me as a banker, I'm going to be skeptical. So we say they need to have partners. It's easy. So that they will just hide behind the partner. So you also need to identify who and who are going to be my partners. And the partners are going to save you time. They're going to help you when they come to risk. But people will say, okay, oh, if XYZ is a partner here and there, is part of your board, is an advisory member, what have you, oh, okay, fine, then they can be guarantors. So partners are very important. Now, apart from even the fact that in terms of risk, sometimes there are a lot of things that you can produce and manufacture yourself, and you can't buy them, you can't pay them. So you need to go into some kind of alliance. Maybe you wouldn't pay in the first year, maybe not first quarter, not second quarter, perhaps in the third quarter, fourth quarter. All these things are, so you need to identify business collaborators. They are very, 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 because it's a new business, so to say. Even if it's not new, there is always the need for partnership. And want you to address this question. So look, under that we see, what are your risks of being new? Let's say it's a new business. Perhaps you don't have finance, people don't trust you, you've not done it before. And one of the ways of going around this is to rally behind some people. It's very, very important. And these are all under the partnership. Or are there partners who can fill the gap? Yes. Finances, what have you. Over here too, I say where, who, how. And this also come back to talk about the skills. Number 5. So let's go back. So first we say you need to make sure you're clear in your mind with regard to the value proposition. Number 2, you need to know the clientele base exists. Number 3, you have identified the kind of relationship you're going to have. Yeah. Number 4, now apart from the relationship, there are partnership. So this and these people are going to be my partners. Then number 5, you have your revenue model. If you are not an accounting or finance, then you wouldn't understand, but this is crucial. Now, if I'm an investor and I want to invest in a business, one of the things I look at it is that if I pick the balance sheet of the firm, I want to know that the company, even if it is struggling, at least it can pay for its short-term obligation. And what do I mean by that? Maybe water bill, electricity bill, what have you. So because of that rule in financial management, it is said that a business must have a constant flow of cash. So look, for you to have a constant flow of cash, you need to have what we call a revenue model. So one company will say, for me to have a constant flow of cash, I'm going to sell certain items on cash and carry basis. The reason is that if I don't want to sell on credit, nobody will come to me. I won't get anything. I can't be in business. But I also need to pay my bills, my salary, wages, and what have you monthly. So the pattern is that there are certain things that maybe I'm going to sell. That one, when you pay, you buy, you're going to pay now. So this is the trick. Those that will pay and pay prompt cash, the price will be a little bit down. Then those who will buy and say maybe a week after, 2 weeks after, a month after, I will say that one is high. What am I trying to do? This is what I refer to as my revenue model. I want to make sure that there is available cash. Number one, to meet key short-term obligations. Not only available cash, I also want to make sure that anytime I get revenue, I'm not expending all of them on expenditure. Even if I pay dividend, some aspect of the amount is left for me to plow back. Maybe somebody will come and give me a deal. The deal is so cheap. If I go to banker, the banker say, man, we don't have, then what do I do? So I need to have revenue model to create availability of cash whilst I'm meeting my short-term obligation. Anytime I come into wonderful business deal, I can have money right away. Sitting down, I don't need to go and worry any bank. So revenue model is very, 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 very important. Otherwise, if you are making noise out there, everybody know that this company is huge, it's popular. You can pay your water bill, you can pay electricity, you can pay your wages. Somebody gives you wonderful deal, perhaps where you are is crowded, there's a wonderful location, it's a nice deal, you can have money to pay. You can move on. So revenue model is very important. Very, very, very. So one, value proposition, clientele, relationship, partnership, and then number 5, you must have a revenue model. Then number 6, that business that you are creating, that you say you want to create value for the stakeholders, you must understand the cost structure. Cost structure simply refers to the fact that there are certain costs, whether you produce, you don't produce, you will have to incur. For example, business school, I'm a faculty over there. Now, like I said, I'm from an accounting and financial management background, so I understand these things. My pay is regarded as a fixed cost. Whether the students are 2 in the classroom, whether they are 5, at the end of the month, I'm going to receive my pay. So my pay, the pay of my dean, electricity, what have you, will regard them as fixed cost. So whether people come, they don't come, we incur that cost. So if a businessman, anything you do, you must have that one at the back of your mind. Maybe I'm a banker, or I'm a bank. I've gone to the town center. Those of you who are in Ghana, I've gone to the high street. It's a busy area for those of us living in Accra. And then I'm going to perhaps lease an office complex. But the price is so huge that if I want to translate everything into the price of my item, nobody will come to me. So how do I go about it? I must make sure that every year or a month, a percentage is added to the price. And that percentage is regarded as a fixed cost. So you need to understand the cost structure. Now, not only the fixed, some costs are variable. Again, I'm giving you a financial management trick. In financial management, they are saying that even if you are not doing anything at all, the cost that if you don't produce and sell, you don't incur, always make sure that whatever you do, you recoup that cost. So, for example, in a business school, right? One of our programs will normally give water. So let's assume that per setting, we expect 50 participants. If 20 show up, we're going to give them 20 bottles of water. Yeah? If nobody shows up, we don't take any other water. What that means is that there are certain costs in business. If you don't sell, you don't incur. Now the trick is that cost that you incur, immediately you make one sale, you must make sure that the price of the sale is always higher. The price of the sale should always be higher than the cost. And that cost is what we refer to as variable cost. Yeah? So the assumption is that every business, even if they are not doing well at all, they must every day, every month, cover their variable costs. Because those costs, if you don't sell, you do not incur. So we're saying that even if you're not making profit at all, you couldn't also recoup your variable, then you're not a very good entrepreneur. But for you to do this, you need to really, really, really understand cost structure. So we have variable costs, fixed costs, we have functional costs. There are a lot of, this is not an accounting class or financial management, so I'm just trying to introduce. But don't forget, because we're saying that the business model is a logic that informs what business does to create value. Before you can create value, you must understand the cost structure of your business. And it's very important. That's why I said in the course of the lecture in the topic 1, that I will wish that you take your financial management courses and other things so serious. Finance is a strong tool. Once your financial skills are so strong, you're always in control of your business. Now, there are a number of sub questions here. Number 1 is saying that what is your cost behavior? You must answer that one. What are the component and sub-component? What is the trend of inflation in Ghana or perhaps in Nigeria or Kenya? What is the level of the exchange rate? All these issues will let you know your fixed costs, variable costs, and all that. So 6, cost structure. Number 7, channel of communication. Now, if you are going to stay in touch with your client, how will you going to communicate with them? So perhaps you will, like I introduced some of the internet companies in Ghana to you. They have their own call centers. They have employed their own salespeople and they're calling. Or perhaps you're going to outsource it. There are different ways of addressing that one. How will you contact the customers? You need to answer that one. How will customers know that your goods are available? Maybe whether you go to big malls, people sell stuff to different sales points. You need to address. Now, don't forget, when we are saying communication, it doesn't mean that you are even speaking on phone to a client. What it means is that if I go to the town center and that is where I can identify the goods, it means that you're communicating to me that the sales point is in the city center, not the outskirts of the town. And all these things, you need to know that one. It's very important. Number 8, look, resources. That business you want to create, you must understand all the resource requirement. And here, we're talking about capital resources, office complex. Maybe you can buy, you might have to lease. Yeah? So your accountant, they will help you. If you're in Ghana, you can also come to the business school, I can help you. I won't collect any money from you. I can just give you free tutorials. All right? So they will tell you, then, now look at it. Say, which of the resources will support your profit? It's very crucial. Very, very, very crucial. Sometimes people will poach people who have had 10, 15 years experience somewhere and come and pay them big. These are all resources issue you need to address. Are other resources available? Technical, expert, human resources, financial money. Now, you see, I don't know, maybe you will do a module in project management. There's something we call project appraiser. And this is an example. Before you can say project is okay, let's put money in, the assumption is that all the resources issues are covered. And you've checked all of them. Yes. Office complex, yes. I can buy it, yes. It's available, yes. You need to check all of them. Because we say it's a model. And the idea is that you just want to hit it and just make it big. The last but not the least is about key activities. What do we mean by this? You see, at the end of the day, when you set up the organization, there are certain activities that you'll be doing them 24/7. Now, let me give my own as an example. At the business school where I'm a faculty, we teach, it's an activity. That if you enter our premises, you will see security desk. So as part of our operations, key security is one. We have library services. So you need to understand all the activities that go into the operation. Core activities, support activity. You need to tell all HR, IT, this, everything ought to be there. Ought to be there. So look at the figure over there. So we say production, operation, and look, a number of things. You need to, in advance, conceive all these things. So we say, if I have identified an idea, and I want to be pretty sure that this idea, if I hit it, it will work, I must check all these 9 questions I have posed. And don't forget, I said to you that each one of them is evaluating themselves. The reason being that once you are answering yes or no to the question, it means that you are evaluating it. So once you have them, you're able to do them very well, and perhaps you need expert to be with you, call colleagues. Like I said, if you're in Ghana and you want to practicalize this, you can come to the business school. I can offer you free services. Once you've done this very well and all the answers are fine, you are closer to being business, big time. So these are the activities that come under creating a business model, starting from the idea, which is value proposition, customer base, type of relationship, partnerships, financial structure. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. So once you have skills in this, whether it is a board that you are serving, whether somebody is saying something, whether somebody said, man, there's a business idea, I'm crazy about it. I mean, you can right away see from your mind eye whether this will work or not.